Hello, everybody. It's Thor, and today we're going to be talking about different methods and different strategies that you can use to mitigate or modify your karma, because that's such an important topic, especially when you're on this journey of spiritual awakening and you start studying astrology, you start getting into yoga, you start getting into meditation. You start trying to figure out, well, how do I change a lot of these negative karmic situations in my life? Because you might notice that you have certain patterns that keep reoccurring in your life despite all of your best efforts. There might be some sort of relationship, there might be some sort of work situation, or maybe you keep attracting certain people in your life and it keeps happening time after time, even after you take practical steps. So in this video, we're going to talk about the Vedic astrology remedies that we typically use when we're trying to modify planetary karma in a chart. But I also want you to be aware that there's all types of other different strategies of modifying your karma. So for example, there's a lot of meditations on YouTube where you can change your energy regarding relationships, or you can change your energy regarding money or different karmic situations in your life. So this is not the only way to change your karma, but it's a useful way, and I've tried it and it's actually worked in my life. So I want to share it with all of you. If you guys are new to my channel, of course, please like and subscribe. My goal is 10,000 subscribers. And I'm really happy and excited that we're almost at 1,500 subscribers now. So thank you guys for all your support, your likes, your shares. And then all of you that have purchased readings, I also want to say thank you as well. The deal of 40% off is still active. If you guys are interested in getting your own reading and looking at what your own karma is, check down below for those details. Now, I wanted to really get into this issue of when you start on the path of awakening, what happens is most people on the planet, before they go through an awakening process, most people are kind of living their lives on default. So most people are not really, most people are just seeing everything that's happening in your life in terms of coincidence. Everything's just coincidental. And so most people are running around, putting out the various fires in your life, but they don't really see a greater spiritual cause and effect of the whole situation. So a lot of this karmic, when we're talking about karmic mitigation and changing your karma, this usually happens when you're on this path of awakening and you become aware that there's a karmic problem. And that's the first step of when you're going to actually take steps to rid yourself of harmful or negative karma, or take steps to mitigate it in some way. So that's what I'm going to be talking about. So why the problems? And in Buddhism, they talk about dukkha. So when bad things are happening to us, that causes us to wake up and figure out, how do we get out of this suffering? So that's usually when people wake up. So I wrote in the slide here, when one develops enough awareness, they may start to notice karmic patterns and loops. Why do I always have difficulty with money? Why are you always having terrible bosses or terrible jobs? Why can't you get along with your family at Christmas or Thanksgiving dinner? Why can't you ever meet the right person? Why are you keep on attracting, narcissists or people that are very toxic? These are all situations you need to think about. And then even issues like, why do I feel so insecure? Those are also karmic. So even the way we think, if we were born with low self-esteem, or we were raised in an environment where there wasn't a lot of validation, and we have low self-esteem, that's all part of your karma. So even a lot of your thought patterns are part of your karma. So a lot of you, if you're new to all of this, Vedic astrology is based on Eastern thought, especially Hinduism and Buddhism. And that's the basis of Vedic astrology. So it's based in this idea of reincarnation. Your astrology chart is just a map of all the karma that you had from all these past lives that you've been living. So that's what the astrology chart is. And you're going to continue to live through more lives until you get out of samsara, until you get enlightened. So this is the game we're playing right now. So when we're doing a Vedic astrology chart, we're trying to figure out, okay, we're trying to use divination that the rishis have passed on to us to figure out, why are these things happening in your life? And these are the energy patterns as planets, whether it be Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury, Venus. These planetary energies are representing different karmic patterns in your life. So let's go to the slide here. What is karma? Karma is the result of your actions, words, deeds, and thoughts. So even your thoughts are karma. A lot of people just think it's what they're doing. Have you ever been around somebody who complains a lot? Do you know those people are actually somebody who complains a lot, complains about everything in their life? They're attracting or creating negative karma. They're going to attract either in this current life or in the next life more situations to complain about. Okay, law of attraction is still in effect along with these karmic energies. Okay, so if you're somebody that has problems with complaining, you're attracting more of that. You're creating future karmic causes. So I would recommend, obviously, try to figure things, try to be grateful for things in your life, try to shift the pattern. So we've all had thousands of lifetimes of thought patterns, decisions, actions. These actions and thought patterns have been good, evil, and neutral. Some of them are neutral. Like it doesn't matter if you like pink shoes or red shoes. That's pretty neutral. In every situation in your life, love, family, relationships, friendships, career, money, station in life, respect, self-love are being influenced from karma from past lives. And there's this really great analogy. So the actions and thoughts and words that you're saying at this moment, I want you to imagine one of those like British longbowmen from the past. You know, they had a big longbow and they would shoot their arrow. Well, karma works that way. The actions you're taking right now is you're drawing back your bow and you're shooting an arrow into the future. Okay, that karmic cause is going into the future. Now, it could be a few minutes from now where the arrow hits. It could be tomorrow. It could be years from now. It could be in the current lifetime, but the arrow could even hit in a future lifetime. But all the actions you're taking right now, you're shooting arrows, just like I'm talking about the British longbowmen. You're sending more arrows into the future. So the most important step when you're starting this journey of karmic mitigation is to start changing your words, your thoughts, your actions, your deeds right now. Start changing those actions so that you can reap more positive effects in the future. And of course, I'm going to get to the gemstones and the mantras. Just hang on, guys. All right, so karma and the planets. You're probably wondering, how does this all have to do with astrology? So Vedic astrology is a way where we're trying to divine, we're trying to interpret your karma by the planet, the motions of the planets, and where the planets were on the specific day you were born. The time and day and place you were born is not an accident. Your soul has decided for that specific point in time to be born to reap a very specific karma. So I want y'all to be aware of that. So the planets, houses, and signs all represent specific karmic lessons and issues within the current lifetime. Now, I want you to be aware of there's 3 different karmic densities. Okay, so Drita karma is fixed karma. Drita and Adrita karma is fixed and non-fixed. So that's like your medium level karma. And then your Adrita karma is changeable karma. It's really simple karma to change. So let me give you an example to illustrate this point. Let's say you own a car and you guys drive your car through a dust storm. Well, what is the karmic remedy for that? Oh, well, you're just going to go to the karmic, the car wash, the karmic car wash. And you're going to either wash your car or just have someone else wash your car with some soap and water. And that's very simple. It's really simple to get the dust off your car. Okay, so that's your Adrita karma. Okay. Now let's go to the Drita karma and Adrita karma, the mixed karma. That would be like if someone threw paint on your car. Let's say someone splashed some paint on your car. Well, that's going to take a little bit more than just soap and water, right? You're going to have to get out maybe sanders and maybe try to scrape the paint off. Maybe you'll have to maybe sand it off and repaint the part that someone splashed paint on your car. But it's still fixable, but it's taking more effort, time, money to fix it. Okay, that's going to be your mixed karma. Now your Drita karma, the really fixed karma, is like if someone poured concrete on your car and that concrete dried. Okay, well, okay, to fix that problem, it's going to take a lot of effort. Okay, you're going to need power tools. You're going to need maybe jackhammers. You're maybe going to need chisels. You're going to need hammers. And the car might even get destroyed in the process. You might have to even take off the whole, the whole frame of the car and rebuild the car because it's such a bad, the concrete's on the car. So we have karma like that. There's karma that's very fixed on ourselves. You can't change the family you were born into. No matter what gemstones you wear, no matter how many mantras you chant, you can't change that. That's already done. That's already been determined, the type of family you belong to. But there are changes we can make. And even with that example of the concrete drying on the car, what I want you to be aware of is, well, okay, maybe we can take steps to lessen the concrete on the car. Maybe we can get out a hammer and a chisel and start chiseling some of it off and lower the weight on the car. So some of these karmic mitigation strategies are going to be like that. Also, there's the idea of strengthening the good karma that we have. So it's not all about getting rid of bad karma, but also strengthening our positive karma. So let's go into the gemstones. I want to talk to you before we really get into what gemstones to be aware of. This is going to be a very brief introduction to gemstones. There's a lot to this, and there's a lot to planetary mantras as well. So I want you all to be aware of that this is kind of a snapshot so you guys can do more research, and possibly I'll be doing more videos on this in the future. Okay, so this is going to be a really quick lesson, but the idea in Vedic astrology is that each planet is a consciousness and corresponds to a gemstone, okay, or a metal. We're not going to talk about the metals, but the gemstones, each one of these gemstones have a relationship with that planetary consciousness or planetary energy. So I want you to think of, if you're wearing a planetary gemstone, let's say you're wearing diamond for the planet Venus, and you have to wear it in a very specific way. It's not just any diamond ring that you're wearing. You need to get it done by a Vedic jeweler where the diamond is actually touching in contact with your skin. Okay, so there's very specific ways of how you even wear this jewelry. Okay, well, if you're wearing a diamond, what is it doing? It's going to act almost like if you had a radio magnifier. Okay, if the planet is transmitting a signal, imagine the crystal being or gemstone being like an amplifier of that planetary signal. That's how the gemstones work. So you're not going to want to wear a gemstone if the planet is a really negative planet. You don't want to amplify a negative signal. You want to amplify positive signals. So but before you run out and buy gemstones for a planet that's really causing a lot of problems, I really want you to think about, there's other strategies to mitigate bad karma. Okay, with the gemstones, I particularly recommend choosing more of a planet to amplify or increase your positive karma. Okay, so you're going to want to look at positive planets in your ascendant. You're going to want to look at what planets rule the first house, the fifth house, the ninth house. And those are going to be the planets where you want to really increase and amplify those energies. You're not really going to want to amplify, say, a planet that rules the sixth house, because that's going to bring a lot more problems into your life. So let's go into the gemstones here, planetary gemstones. Now, I'm going to give you a quick list. The first gemstone I have is the primary gemstone related to that planet. Okay, so for Sun, it's going to be ruby. And then the secondary, less expensive gemstone, but it's not going to be as powerful as the primary gemstone, is going to be red garnet. Okay, so some of these gemstones are pretty expensive. Okay, and when we're talking about wearing gemstones, it's recommended that you wear a gemstone of either 2 carats or more to be able to affect the planetary energies. So it's got to be over 2 carats. So ruby is a very expensive gem. Okay, so if you don't have tens of thousands of dollars, I'm not sure how much rubies are, but I think they're one of the more expensive gemstones. You might try red garnet. So you might try a lower priced gemstone, or you may want to just do the mantras. But the mantras take effort. Okay, you guys can change your karma, and I want you all to be aware of this. It takes effort. Changing your karma isn't just snapping your finger. So when I have counseling sessions with my clients, I say this is work that you're going to have to do. If you do mantras, you're going to have to repeat those mantras a lot. 20,000 times, repetitions, not all in one sitting, but 20,000 repetitions, or even 100,000 repetitions. If you have really heavy karma and you're really trying to shift it, this is a real yogic discipline with these, okay? It takes time to modify your karma, but it can be done. So moon is pearl, Mars is red coral, Mercury is emerald, Venus is diamond, Jupiter's yellow sapphire, Saturn's blue sapphire, Rahu's essonite garnet, and K2 is cat's eye. So some of the gems are less expensive. For example, Mars is red coral. I've found red coral to be generally affordable. So if you guys have Mars, Mars isn't a bad planet for everybody. For example, for Leos, Mars rules the 4th and the 9th house, and for Cancer, it rules the 5th and 10th house. So it's a really positive planet for Cancers and Leos. So it depends on what your ascendant sign is, and also your moon sign when we're doing gemstone recommendations. Okay, so that's why you do usually want to get your astrology chart read, so that you can get the appropriate stone for what you need to amplify, what kind of karmic energies you need to amplify in your chart. Also, we're going to talk about, you guys are probably aware, I just said that, in the book Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, his guru was Sri Yukteswar. And this is where we get the recommendation: most effective of all are faultless jewels of not less than 2 carats. So it's got to be at least 2 carats to really have a noticeable effect. So that's a pretty big size gemstone that we're talking about. Now, there is more specifics about it. So if you guys do buy a gemstone, make sure you're doing the research. Like, for example, where it's placed. Most gemstones you can wear as a necklace, as a pendant, if you really want to. But there's also certain fingers on your hands where the gemstones do better. So you want to study that before you place the gemstone, just to be sure. And you usually want to chant the mantra before you place the gemstone. So you want to program the gemstone with your intention. Also, it's important that gemstones are placed on the proper day of the week. This is per Vedic astrology. So Sunday's obviously going to be the sun, Monday moon, Tuesday Mars, Wednesday Mercury, Thursday Jupiter, Friday Venus, Saturday is Saturn, Saturn's day. And then Rahu and Ketu is going to be Saturday at noon, around noon, okay? Now, is it going to be absolutely critical that you do this and it will not work? No, it will still work. But when you're dealing with these kind of things, you do kind of want to go by the book, because you want to amplify that energy to the best of your ability. So that's why it's important to do it on the certain day that it's recommended to place the gemstone. Even when you start a planetary mantra, you're going to want to start it on the day of that planet. So if you're doing moon mantra, start it on a Monday. Okay. Now, I'm not going to get too specific about the times, but start it sometime at a good time on Monday if it's a moon mantra. All right, let's go back to the presentation. We're also going to talk about mantras. So when we talk about mantras and changing your karma, I could do a whole YouTube video on mantras, which I probably will do in the future. But mantras are sounds. They're basically sacred sounds. Okay, if you read in, and I'm going to quote the Bible for a second, but if you read the Bible, it talks about that, God created the universe basically with words and sound. Okay, like before, I think it was, there's a scripture somewhere, before God was the Word, and the Word was with God. So there's this symbolism that comes with saying sacred sounds or holy words, and that's where mantras come in. So the idea is that when you chant a mantra, it's a sound frequency that it corresponds to either a planetary energy or a deity, if you're working with a specific deity or heavenly being. Okay, so there's different types of mantras. But these mantras, when you chant them enough, they affect your chakras and they affect the petals of your chakras, the sounds that you use when you're, especially when you're speaking Sanskrit, because Sanskrit was a language that was essentially affects your chakras and the petals of your chakras. Every sound corresponds to an object. Okay, so they consider Sanskrit one of the heavenly languages. And it's interesting because Sanskrit is actually one of the dying languages on the planet. There's only, I believe, about 12,000 people that fluently speak Sanskrit. But we have a lot of Sanskrit mantras and liturgies that are written down, but it is kind of a dying language as a spoken language. So let's go to the mantras. Now, the mantras are typically, like I said, in Sanskrit. These are going to be your planetary mantras. So if you're wanting to really improve your sun in your chart, you know, make sure, of course, you get your astrology chart and you make sure that, just like the gemstones, that it's a planet that rules the 1st, the 5th, or the 9th house. You usually want it to be a trine lord. So sun, I'm not going to pronounce every one of these. You guys can look it up on YouTube. But sun would be Om Sum Suryaya Namaha. Moon would be Om Som Somaya Namaha. Mars would be Om Kum Kujaya Namaha. Okay, so when you're setting down and you're saying all these different planetary mantras, I'm going to leave it up for a second in case you guys want to write down one of them. But when you sit down, you're going to want to sit and chant 108 repetitions at least in one sitting of that mantra. Let's click. Now, use of mantras. Once a planet has been decided, use a mala and chant the mantra at least 108 times per sitting. It is best to start on the appropriate day of the planet. So if you're doing Mars, you know, Om Kum Kujaya Namaha, start that on Tuesday, okay, to get the best results out of it. And then chant at least 108 times per sitting. Now, if you're really wanting to change your karma fast, you know, you could go for it big time. You could go on a retreat. A lot of people on retreats, they'll chant mantras and maybe hit 100,000 repetitions during their retreat. It really depends how much you really want to change your karma and what your goals are. Planetary karma is going to be really having to do with your physical goals and physical karma in your life. If you're doing a mantra like, say, the Lord Shiva, it's usually more of a spiritual mantra where you might not see as much of your physical material goals met. So planetary karma is usually about physicality. Unless it's one of those planets, like, for example, that rule the 12th house, where it's a very spiritual house. Let's go back. So you guys want to at least, and there are mantras that are very powerful. And I do have a video, I believe in the past I did, when I chanted about 40,000 Saturn mantras and how my life basically really went into some severe chaos because Saturn is the 6th lord in my chart. It cleared a lot of karma for me, and I was very inexperienced, you know, back in I believe it was 2012 when I chanted those mantras. I wasn't fully versed on the use of mantras, but they can be very powerful, so be careful. For powerful results, minimum 20,000 repetitions, and you guys want to keep track of them if you can. So create a little list, you know, make a little mark for every mala you say. For powerful results, 125,000. Okay, that's going to be 1 lakh in India. Observe life while chanting the mantra. Check if negative or positive results. You may want to stop if negative results are happening. So if you're chanting a mantra, let's say you just decide, like in the title in my thumbnail, you decide to DIY this. You're going to do it yourself. You're just going to go try it and chant a mantra. If you're going to do that, I would recommend that you chant it and you watch carefully the results you're having in your life. Okay, so if you're chanting a planet's mantra and all of a sudden you see your life getting into a lot of negative things happening, like let's say you get into a lot of problems or arguments at work, or you're having difficulty in your marriage, or, you know, all of a sudden all these bills are showing up, or Anything negative, and you notice that it's an increase from whatever your equilibrium was, you may want to actually back off the mantra. Okay, because that mantra might be amplifying, and you might have to do some more research, some of these negative karmic energies. So you got to be observant of how your reality is being affected when you chant these mantras or wear these gemstones. You got to be like a trained, like a tantric. You got to watch your reality closely. When you're wearing a gemstone, watch your reality for the first several months. See, how is it changing? Is it changing for good, or is it changing for bad? Be careful to observe these things. This is how a yogi or a yogini thinks. You got to train yourself to think like a yogi if you're going to do these karmic remedial measures. So let's go back into the use of mantras here. And of course, if you see positive effects, then you may want to chant even more. You might want to go full bore with this, and you might want to increase all these wonderful positive results that you're having. So that would be great. Let's go to the next slide here. Now, there's other methods of karmic remediation, okay? And a lot of it's going to depend on your tradition. So whether you're Hindu, whether you're Buddhist, or whether you're kind of more New Age, which is fine. I have clients of all sorts of different traditions, and I welcome everybody. So what are you comfortable with? What is your tradition? Or maybe you're someone who's a little bit more casual about spirituality. That's really going to be how you determine how you're going to mitigate your karma. Okay. So you may want to just listen to some YouTube meditations. They have some really cool meditations. I've used them myself. I've used like all those strategies I've written down in this next slide. I've used them. Some of this, rewiring or rewording your subconscious and how you're manifesting things in the world, that's influencing your karma. So let's take a look at some of these strategies in case, because there's a lot of people, and I'm going to pause for a second. There's a lot of people, they don't have the karma to chant 100,000 mantras. Do you know that's part of your karma too? If you actually are somebody where you're going to sit down and chant 100,000 mantras, you were most likely somebody that either lived in an ashram or a monastery, or you were somebody that probably has a background of a former life where you're used to doing that. Somebody who has no background with spirituality, they're not going to sit down and chant 100,000 mantras. They're going to get bored. So your karma also shows what kind of spiritual practice you're going to do in your life. So let's go back to the other methods. And these are all, even as a Vedic astrologer, these are all very good methods as well. Okay, so guided meditations for a specific issue, whether it be money, relationships, love. There's hundreds of free meditations you can do on YouTube, hundreds. There's even, guided meditations on clearing karma. You can try those. Daily affirmations for at least 90 days. So if you're working on trying to change your subconscious, that's important to do. So if you're somebody, maybe you were raised around a lot of scarcity beliefs because of your family of origin, second house, you're going to maybe want to start chanting daily affirmations. Doesn't have to be in Sanskrit, can be in your own language, English. And you can just say, hey, I'm abundant, I am prosperous. And you can keep repeating that to yourself over 90 days and reprogramming the subconscious mind. A lot of those belief patterns are coming from past lives. There's also going to be lots of mantras, and there are hundreds of different mantras, okay? Mantras for deities or heavenly beings that you can work with. So you don't just have to do planetary mantras. You can work with whatever you're comfortable with, whatever tradition you're from. Hypnosis is something I recommend. So there's a lot of free hypnosis videos on YouTube if you guys are interested on that. That also works at changing your karma. Remember, a lot of your karma, like I said, is from your beliefs that keep on replaying over and over from past lives. Also, there's energy healing sessions like Reiki, crystals, any type. That's more of the New Age type of work, but the energy healing sessions can be very successful, and I've had a lot of clients that swear by it. Also, past life healing sessions. So if you're interested in past life regressions, you can do those as well. And of course, meritorious acts of service. Those also are creating positive karma. Okay. So if you're having negative, let's say you have negative karma surrounding money, one of the karmic strategies when you do seva or you do service to try to help create merit for that so you can help change your karma would be to work with people less fortunate than yourself. Okay, that's one way you can actually mitigate bad financial karma, is to actually go work somewhere, whether it be in a soup kitchen or a food pantry, somewhere where you're assisting people less fortunate than yourself with that karma. And you got to set the intention. If you guys do that, set the intention that you're dedicating this merit for all living beings when you do this karma, so that you can earn that karmic merit for it. And when you give somebody to something and you want to earn the positive karmic merit, have that intention. I give this person, may all beings be free. May all beings be liberated. Have that intention when you do it, and you can earn that karmic merit. When you start helping people through service, that's when you can change a lot of your karma, because then you're actually doing the opposite of what you did in the past. If you have bad financial karma, it's usually because in a past life you were very greedy, or you were very selfish, or you misused your money in some sort of way. Maybe you were just a person that went out and partied all the time and you never did anything good for anybody. So when you go in this current lifetime and then you go serve people, you're canceling out all that bad karma. You're avoiding it. You're transmuting that karma so that you can live a happier and more fulfilling life now. Okay, guys, thank you guys for being here. I am going to take a look at some of the questions. MS is here. I want to say hello. Buy or buy not. How you doing, mister? Too tired to watch you today. We'll watch tomorrow. All the best or better. Well, thank you so much for being here, everybody. I know that this video is probably a very important video if people are very serious as far as spiritual awakening goes. This is a very serious video. I know a lot of people want the astrological charts and the predictions, but this kind of video and this kind of content is actually life-changing. How do you make your life better? How do you make your life more enjoyable? This is the type of content that really can change your life if you're on the path. Your Vedic astrology chart is one tool to help you in your spiritual path. It's just showing you some pieces of the puzzle on your path. So thank you guys for watching my video, and please comment down below. Let me know what you guys think. Of course, I'm grateful for all of you subscribers and new subscribers. Thank you guys for being here, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.